Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome all of you to our Pinal County Community College District Governing Board meeting in April. And we are pleased to be here on the Aravaipa campus and to enjoy the atmosphere and the wonderful beauty of the area. Thank you for the invitation. We will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. David Waldron, member of the board, will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, next item is item number 3 on the agenda, call to the public. We have 3 individuals who have requested the opportunity to address the board. The first is Paula Zovko. If I could invite Paula to come up and please stand at the podium, speak into the microphone, and we hope it won't reverberate too much. Thank you for coming.
Hi, I just found out about this meeting a little bit ago, and I was obviously at woodshop all day since 8 o'clock this morning, which is why I'm covered in sawdust. But the reason I wanted to talk to you guys is about the woodshop class and the auto class and those other community classes. I've been a member here of the class for 3.5 years, in the middle of making my kitchen cabinets, doing all kinds of things. And last semester, I think it was at the beginning of last semester, if I'm not mistaken, we heard that they might be canceling the class rather abruptly. And it was just our shop teacher had come in, and the auto shop teacher had been told that we weren't going to have classes anymore. No one had talked to us or come in and visited the classrooms or anything. So we immediately called Pete Rios, our supervisor, and we went and had a meeting with him. I wrote emails to everyone on the board and a lot of people. No one ever emailed me back. I sent it to 9 different members, and I don't have that list of names here, but I can provide it to you, anytime. I just have to get them from home. Talking about how much these classes mean to the community and our generations. My husband takes that class. He takes it with men who've been taking it for 20 years. Their sons take it with them. Their grandsons take it with them. Autos, the wood shop. There used to be a poultry shop. Welding, which is gone for now, but I hear it's coming back. Anyway, I just feel like these kind of classes are really important, especially because I'm in the middle of building my cabinets. If we stop doing it, it would become a big, huge problem. And everyone is in the middle of some of us projects that are going to take 2 to 3 years. And I'm the youngest person in that class. I've been in there 3 years. Most of the people in the class have been in there over 20, sometimes 25 years. It took 3 years for me to get in that class because there's only, it's a limited amount of people can be in it. And literally someone had to pass away before I could get into the class. So it's a loved class. We never really got an answer why it was getting canceled. So we heard it's going to be back next semester, but I know it's still kind of up in the air. So I just wanted you to know that I think these kind of classes are very important to the community. I'm from Eastern Arizona. My dad was an instructor at Eastern. My mom was an instructor. My sister's an instructor. There's lots of community classes at Eastern Arizona. They're free to senior citizens. So I know that those kind of programs are important. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. That I love this class. Please don't cancel it. We love it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Because of the open meeting law, we're not allowed to discuss it in the meeting, but we'd encourage you to visit with the local administration and let them work it through the system. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thanks.
We appreciate it. Next on the list is Olivia Morales. Olivia.
My name is Olivia Morales. I live across the highway. My husband has been taking this class for, I don't know, over 15 years. He started with a welding class and he went into the automotive after the welding class was taken away. He did the welding and fabrication. He was also welding. has a degree in welding. He welded for Asarco, and he did maintenance mechanic. He was a maintenance mechanic for Asarco and Kennecott. But he's taken this auto class now. He graduated from here, but he continues because of all the new stuff with the vehicles, with the auto classes helped us a lot. Changing spark plugs, doing maintenance on the vehicles that cost us hundreds and hundreds of dollars if he hadn't gone to take this class. And so, every day it's new technology, and the instructor keeps up with everything. And we're concerned that this class will be taken away. There's several young kids that take it from especially from Salmanoff in high school, and they're learning a lot from the older people, the older guys that are there, and he enjoys this class. And I think that there's a lot of them, at least 6 that I know of, that if this class is gone, they will have nothing to do, and it keeps them busy, keeps them coming over here and learning. And it's just not a fun class; it's a learning class for them. So I just wish that you guys would consider, and I know it's not on the agenda, but if you would just consider keeping this class. He takes it 3 times a year. He takes the spring, the summer, and the fall semester. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. Last on the list is Cheyenne Corsten. I hope I got that correctly.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Carter. I just stepped out of class for a minute, but my question is transportation. I know that you guys put up transportation for some of like a bus system for some of the other campuses, like Signal Pink. And I was wondering if you guys could do that here because I know myself I have an issue with that a lot. So, just something. Because, like, I've had to skip classes because I didn't have a way out, or panic attacks because I didn't have a way home. I stressed all of spring break because my person who gives me a ride, he was going on vacation for a week, and I wouldn't have a way out here, and I can't miss 4 days of classes, Just something, anything would be great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comment. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, consideration of the consent agenda. Items that are marked with an asterisk on the agenda are consent matters unless they are removed from the consent agenda at this time by any member of the board. Consent agenda items will be approved by one motion, and there will be no specific discussion of these items. Items removed from the consent agenda will be approved as a non-consent agenda item. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, and I have a second by Mrs. Christensen. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying nay? Thank you very much. Voting has been unanimous in the affirmative. Next item is item number 10, approval to publish the 2019-2020 budget. Chris Vodka.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Chair, governing board members, Madam President, Secretary, colleagues, and any guests here this afternoon. Now, item number 10, I know it's a little difficult to see up there, but it is included in your packets. What we are asking today is the approval from the board to adopt the preliminary draft budget for fiscal year 20. This is approval is needed for us to continue with the process in terms of publication of the budget. And just so you know, the budget cannot be increased in any manner. It could only be decreased from this point forward after your approval. So I'd like to go walk you through the 3 schedules and answer any questions that you may have. The first schedule is Schedule A, which lists out a summarization of all the data. So the first thing we're looking at here is current operating fund. There is an increase of a little over $1 million, which represents about a 2.2% increase overall in the operation, general, and plant funds. Total funds on Schedule A is about a 7% increase. Most of that is made up of larger payments that are going to be made in the upcoming year for the retirement of the debt. You'll notice the retirement of the debt fund is going from 6.6 million to 9.5 million in the next current year, which is a $2.8 million increase. So our total expenditures overall are going up by 4.1 million, which is about a 7% increase in all funds. Salaries and benefits, that is section B on the form. You'll see that a total salaries, just salaries I should say, is an increase of 0.4%. And it's important to note that in here is included a cost of living increase for all the classification groups, meaning all the employees, of approximately $750,000 for the upcoming year. And the overall increase, though, is only $108,000 or 0.4%, and that is due to the reasoning of offsetting a number of salaries that we had, salary savings, and salary reductions. The benefits portion, healthcare costs this year increased by 7%. But once again, if you look at the healthcare cost due to other cost reductions, savings, position reductions, that is also now the 7% isn't reflected in the grand total, even though we did have a 7% increase. The last section on this form is the tax levy. You'll see the primary levy. I keep getting this feedback. The primary levy, what we're asking for is just what the county gives us, which is the 2%. There will be no tax hearing. We're just getting the allowable amount, and what that amount is this year is $52 million, $52,525, or a $1.2 million increase in the property taxes that is calculated for our rate, which is 2.0833, which is a reduction of 4.3% in the primary tax levy rate. The secondary tax rate is decreasing by about 30%. And the reason for that is that this year we're dipping into the reserves that are in the county. They want us to draw down on all of the reserves that are in there, set up for the taxes, so we could draw down on that before we levy. So next year you'll see that would be back to normal, increasing. So overall, our tax levy, if you look at the last line, we could potentially levy up to $68 million, $68.1 million. We only levy $52.1 million, $52.5 million in the primary levy. So we're $15.6 million below our maximum levy that's allowable to us. Schedule B on the next page is a summarization of all of the revenue sources for all of the funds. First major one, tuition and fees. If you recall, for fiscal year 20, we will have a $0 increase. So we made some slight adjustments due to enrollment to keep it practically flat, just a slightly less, about 2.1% less in tuition estimate. State apportionment, those dollars are now still in draft since the budget hasn't been 100% completed from the state. But it looks like about a 3.7% decrease. we're receiving 1,548,500 this year. It was a little over 1.6 last year, so it's $55,000 less in state apportionment dollars. And the last component is the property taxes, which we've already talked about. We're just taking the amount that's allowable to us. The last item to note on here is the last line in the first column. That is the policy reserve. Per the board policy, we do reserve 25% of our revenues, and that's just in case of any emergencies or anything that would be forthcoming. So we do include a policy reserve of our revenues. The next page.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Could you explain, because I'm the new guy and I
Yeah.
get to ask dumb questions. The first line, the restricted and unrestricted, could you explain that? Because those are pretty sizable increases.
I'm sorry, what are you looking at? Schedule B?
Yeah.
Restricted versus unrestricted?
Yeah, the very top.
Oh, the beginning balances. Okay. The unrestricted means it could be spent in the operating funds and or grant funds. Restricted funds is the only restricted fund we have is the retirement of debt, since that money has to be set aside specifically for the principal and interest payments of our bonds.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Schedule C is now the offset, which is the expenditures. And this is broken down by all of the reporting categories. So we start with instruction down to contingency. And you'll see what we're doing is we're passing a balanced budget, so the revenues to equal the expenditures for all of the funds. And that is the three schedules. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, once again, this is a preliminary draft budget that we would like to publish in a newspaper and bring back for formal approval at the May board meeting. And we can always decrease, but we cannot increase any amounts once approved this afternoon.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question. Stupid question. Chris, do you feel comfortable with this 2.5% for the primary tax levy?
Comfortable in what regards, ma'am? If it should be more or less or just right or?
Well, the crystal ball is on your desk, and you look at it
Okay.
every
In
day.
that regards, okay. Yeah, yes, I'm very comfortable because one, if we asked for more, we would have to do a truth and taxation hearing, and I don't believe that's necessary at this point because we're operating our budget. Actual to expenditures are meeting our targets, actually exceeding the targets. We're spending less than what we're actually budgeting, and we have the history of that. And just lost my train of thought there. The levy here is no truth in taxation hearing. We're taking what's allowable to us. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we could levy up to 68 million. We're only levying 52. So if it ever came a need where the college needed to have additional funds, we have the potential to levy more. The board has the discretion to levy more by doing a truth and taxation hearing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Hearing no questions, would entertain a motion to approve the budget and post it. Not approve it, excuse me, to post the budget. Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion to post. Is there a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second to post the budget for 2019-20. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir. Well, the proposal is to approve the preliminary draft of the.
Thank you. I appreciate that for the minutes.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed by saying nay.
Nay.
I have 4 yeas and 1 nay to approve to post the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Under reports, item number 11, CAC 50th Anniversary Celebration Update, Angela Askey. We have a party coming.
Governing Board President Gibson, Governing Board members, Dr. Elliott, Mary Lou, staff, students, and guests. As you know, Central Arizona College opened its doors and began offering classes in September of 1969 at the Signal Peak campus. Beginning in July, we as a college will begin a 50th anniversary celebration that will span from July of 2019 through June of 2020. Since August, a committee of students, staff, and faculty have been meeting and planning events that will kick off during our All College Day on August 12th. We held a logo contest with students, and the logo that you see up on the PowerPoint is the logo that was voted on and approved. The student was Jada Stratman, and she received a $150 scholarship for having the winning logo. So that will appear on all of our ads and in all of our communications and everything that happens over the next fiscal year. Some of the events that are planned include a CAC showcase, a fun run and 5K, athletic scrimmages. We're going to do signature campus events at all of the campuses, employee events, which will be opportunities for employees to gather together, possibly like at a Diamondbacks game or state fair. We're looking at different options, something at least one per semester. There will be a day of service where our staff and employees will go out into the community and provide service. And then we're looking at a big spring fling, including carnival rides, possibly a dance, and some other fun things that would wrap up in the spring. Additionally, our community events, student engagement, and our CAC Foundation are planning events and throughout the next academic year, and those will be marketed as part of the 50th anniversary celebratory opportunities. Our time capsule that was sealed during the 25th anniversary will be opened during the graduation reception in May of 2020. And student engagement is already working on plans to put together a new time capsule. Sue Tatterson and one of her students is working on a video, and then we are working on photo collages that will be put up at each of the campuses. The hashtags that appear up also on that slide are those that have been chosen, so those will be used throughout the next year. And we're just working hard to confirm dates, and by June we're hoping to release the complete 50th anniversary schedule. Any questions?
I have a question. Is it possible? I know you said this is already in concrete, but is it possible if Vanquero could be /Vanquera, so it would be including both male and female?
Okay, I can take that back to the committee.
Thank you very much. It's a little thing, but it's something I picked up on our new literature, which I want to commend you and your staff for developing. It's lovely literature, and I've been using it on all my service people that have shown up last week to get them to enroll.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the report. Sounds like a lot of fun. Next report is Arizona Association of Community College Trustees, Dr. Banks.
Again, this two-part report. Last time we met, I gave you the golden rod. Now, if you lost the URL, just Google in caps ACCT. They have two excellent, how would you call them? I must be getting Alzheimer's. Podcasts. And there's podcasts for April 4th, which is an update on the authorization of the Higher Education Act. And then April 11th, there is a podcast on the update of the progress made with the Pell Grants. And one of the hottest sentences was, Congress is thinking of upping the Pell Grant. Well, two sentences, upping the Pell Grant amount. Good thing. And the second is to allow Pell Grants for short-term courses. And Dr. Cardenas and Dr. Elliott know all about this probably, so they'll be able to elaborate for you. The second thing, separate issue, is I am going to have to send out to the board members something Dr. Elliott shared with me that her office created from a meeting with the presidents and chancellors of the Arizona College Association, and Community College Association, excuse me. And it's a marketing plan to engage discussion with our legislators in Arizona. And so be prepared to see it. I still need buy-in from the trustees, from the administration at this college as to whether or not you will attend the September meeting that we plan to hold at Prescott College. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report. Appreciate that. Report from Central Arizona College President, Dr. Elliott.
Thank you, President Gibson, governing board members, faculty, staff, guests, and students. Thank you for joining us today. I have a couple quick updates, legislative updates. The session's kind of winding down, so I'm going to highlight the bills that are still alive at this particular point. Some that we've discussed in the past are no longer moving forward. In particular, Senate Bill 1048, it requires community colleges to grant admissions to students who are under the age of 18 years of age and who have achieved minimum scores on scholastic aptitude tests or minimum scores on the ACT. That has passed the Senate. The next Senate bill is 1069. It prohibits universities and community colleges from restricting a student's right to speak in a public forum, but it does allow the institutions to impose a reasonable time, place, and manner as permitted by statute, and this has passed the Senate as well. Senate Bill 1191 requires each community college district to administer the Arizona Works Community College grants for students who are enrolled in career and technical education programs at the community college. So this has passed the Senate as well. And Senate Bill 1217 entitles any person who graduates from a public or private high school in Arizona to the Arizona High School Graduate Tuition Rate in an amount prescribed by the Community College District Governing Board. This has passed the Senate as well. As far as the district update, I just have a few things. It's been only a couple weeks since we met last. So on Wednesday of this week, last week actually, I spoke with the Saddlebrook Republican Club down here at Saddlebrook Ranch, or Saddlebrook. I was able to share with them the college's new strategic plan and highlighted the accomplishments from the past 2 years. And I believe that event went very well, and we were well received. We were also able to hand out our Promise for the Future pledge cards to about 35 individuals. So hopefully we will see some fruition from that. And lastly, on April 4th, the college hosted the president from Tarrant County Community College District, one of the largest districts in Texas, along with about 10 members from his leadership team at the Signal Peak campus. They were on campus to learn about our SUNT program, how we built the program and the partnership, and for them to be able to replicate as well at their institution. That's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No questions. Thank you very much for the report. Next report is business affairs report. Chris, again.
Thank you once again. Two reports. One is the budget report, and the second one is on our bids over 20,000. So first of all, for the budget report, and we're going to have a little presentation as well. I'm happy to say that we can now present full revenue and expense reports. And the first thing I want to say is that I apologize we haven't had it to this point, but what we tried to do is recreate something from a past system, and that was a flaw on our thinking, because it's much easier to show something in this manner, and I think it's more relevant with some graphs and charts rather than trying to do something the old way in a new system. So this report now has all results through the end of March. And in terms of the end of March, our operating fund expenditures are about 60.7% of the budget. And this is about a 3.4% decrease from March of a year ago, which was at 64.13%. So we are now completed with 9 months of the fiscal year, and we are in terms of our revenues and expenditures, we are at and or below the targets. So I'd like to walk you through the new presentation format and get your thoughts on this presentation. The first page is a complete revenues and expenditures. No, still back on the first one. This shows us just a higher level major categories of revenues and major categories of expenditures. Year-to-date actual, year-to-date budget, fiscal year budget, year-to-date percentage of budget, year-to-date actual as a percentage of budget, and then it also has your previous fiscal year to date. So you have all information on one page for all of the major categories. The next page shows us graphically where we're at the current year budget of the general operating fund, $47.7 million. That includes the revenues and the expense side. Year to date, revenue side is about $41.7 million. Expenditures are at about $28.9 million. And the last numbers show us where we were year to date a year ago, the revenues versus the expenditures. The next slide and the next few slides actually show all of the categories on graphically, all our major revenue categories here, previous year to date, and then compared to the dark green, which is the budget. Next, please. This shows us the expense categories that are also taken from the first page. Once again, year to date, previous year to date, and budget. Next one. And also included now is the auxiliary funds in your report, and that is the same type of format with the actual, budget, percentages of, and previous year's total. Next, please. And this also shows us now year to date, previous year to date, and also budgeted revenues to budgeted expenditures. And the next two slides are the revenue and the expense portion of the auxiliary funds, showing it graphically. So if you have some feedback for me on anything we could improve in this presentation and or add to the presentations, I'd appreciate your feedback.
Thank you. It is a new format, and we're all pondering it here.
Okay.
Comments and questions? Yes, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I am quite pleased with the new reports, but I do have a question about how were the graphs and charts produced from ERP, or did your staff have to go and
this is a simple Excel spreadsheet, just taking the categories from the first page.
Okay, so no real overhead administrative-wise to produce the graphs. No additional administrative hours to produce the graphs.
Nothing additional to what we've done in the past in producing the reports.
All right, thank you.
Even less, to be honest.
Yeah, last time.
Other questions, comments, feedback? Well, I really like the visual format. I
Thank
like the numbers that are combined
you.
with the visuals.
And we'll experiment with it, whether pie graphs or graphs. We'll, as we dive further into the system and see what else we could present that would be meaningful, we'll present that then.
My initial reaction is that I missed the detail, but I'm not sure that that detail was as necessary to our oversight as
Correct.
that we might have thought it been. So,
And the detail is there, and even lower detail if you so desire.
so what we will do is we will continue to watch and monitor and enjoy your reports.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else that you need to bring with us?
Well, the next one is the awarded bids.
Scared me.
There's a handful of them. First one is replacement computers for the teacher workstations. CCB Technology Inc. out of Racine, Wisconsin, $172,221.50, and that is to purchase replacement computers for the teacher workstations, and that's for the entire district. The next one is network and cabling for switch replacement. That is Herb's Phone Service of Casa Grande, Arizona, in the amount of $23,571. And this is to contract for the cabling for switch replacements for the entire district. Next one is new computers and peripherals, CDWG Inc. out of Chicago, Illinois, $26,602. And this is to purchase new computers and peripherals for the district. Next one is new computers for employees and faculty, CCB Technology Inc., Racine, Wisconsin, $243,897.50. And that is to purchase replacement computers for our staff for the district. Next one is Braille services for the conversion of 2 textbooks, Foundation for the Blind from Phoenix, Arizona, $27,829.50. And that is to contract for services for the conversion of 2 textbooks for a student at the Signal Peaks campus. Next one is software and hardware improvements, Avid Consulting LLC, Gilbert, Arizona, $30,000. This is a contract for network and system consulting services for the district. And the last one is instructional technology peripherals for I-400 and 401, Exhibit 1 Corporation, Phoenix, Arizona. That is $62,433.17. And that is to replace the equipment in I-400 and 401. And if you're wondering why we're replacing that with a building that's just been open for less than a year, it's because the technology over the last several months, we've seen that isn't the best technology that could be used in those rooms. The technology that's in there can be recycled and used in terms of classroom technology. So we are upgrading the 400 and the 401 space in terms of all IT technology, so it better suit our internal and external customers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions relative to bid awards?
Yes, I have a question regarding conversion of the text into Braille. I don't see an RFP. I'm assuming there was an RFP that was published. Is that correct, Mr. Watka?
To be honest, I'm not sure. We haven't used Braille services in a number of years. Maybe Jenny could comment. We use a service when it's required for a student that is sight impaired, and we have to provide this service. Right. Right. I can tell you for sure we did not go for an RFP. So more than likely it was a company that was Foundation for the Blind, which is on the state contract. So that guarantees us that we are getting the best competitive bid. But it is not something that is an RFP process. It probably would become one if we had these types of services that were on a frequent basis. But I believe this may be the first one in 9 years that I've seen.
Um, I can discuss this with you later.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is item 15, monitoring reports. And Chris and Mary Kay and Jenny are on the agenda. Now, last time I got fooled because there were two people on the agenda and only one presented, so I'm not going to go out on that limb this time. I can be fooled once.
You know,
Okay.
it's 3 for the price of 1. Okay, board monitoring reports. The first two, 6.1 and 6.2, pertain to my areas. 6.1 is the expenditures per footsie, which is obviously the full-time student equivalent. If we go to the graph, next please. There we go. Unfortunately, we do not have the 2018 data yet, so this outcome is still ongoing in terms of both our recent and our planned improvements. Some of the things that we've done is the zero-based budgeting. Over the last 2 years now, we have completed part-time adjunct faculty analysis, and this year we went through instructional dues, and we also went through contractual services. So we are working towards the zero-based budgeting, slowly but surely along the way. We have also now, in the recent improvements, we've evaluated all the vacant full-time and the part-time positions for fiscal year 20, and it does go through a rigorous hiring process in terms of, or posting process, I should say, that justifications need to be brought to cabinet before positions are considered. Continued improvements on this is that we continue to benchmark and go through actual staffing needs and goals for that, and hopefully when the 2018 data is available and forward, we will see a reduction in the expenditures per footsie. The next one is the tuition and fees for the district, and this one would be up to date because obviously tuition and fees information is approved on a yearly basis. This shows us we had no tuition increase the last 2 years, meaning 2019 and 2020. You will see our target, the CAC rate now is below the target rate for both fiscal years 19 and 20, since we had no tuition increase for fiscal year 20. And planned improvements is just a continuous, every year we bring to the board a tuition and a fee recommendation, and we'll continue to evaluate the course fees, and that does include all of the academic departments, the chairs and faculty and so forth that go through all of their areas and identify any fee increases that may be required. And we'll continue to monitor our tuition and fees of our peers in Arizona to see where they stand, so we can continue to be at or below the target that the board established. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions on these first two outcomes.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Gibson, members of the board, Dr. Elliott, colleagues, students, and guests. I have the third part of this monitoring report, the average course size, and I want to say that I'm very happy to be here presenting this today. One of the major goals that we've been working on in academics over the last several years has been to try to right-size our schedule and to have the right courses in the right places at the right time around our large district without over-duplicating them, but at the same time without depriving students of opportunity. So this is really a big challenge. If you look at the graphs for the average class size, the board goal that was set in 2017 was 18 as an average enrollment per class. Okay, this now, of course, keep in mind, you all realize this, that some of our classes will be 20, 25, and then some of them will be necessarily smaller. Over the last several years, we've been working really hard to try to reach that goal and or exceed it. And in 27-18, we did exceed the board goal, and we're up to 19 as an average per class size. So I want to thank the hard work of the chairs and the deans and all of our faculty who have been hearing endlessly about why this is important, but also working very hard to reach that goal. And I will say we will continue to try to not just stay where we are, but to improve that going forward. So any questions about average class size?
Good.
I just want to add a point of clarification because I think it gets confusing on campus. Is this takes the board set the goal of it to be the average course size for all the courses at the institution. And so when we talk about individual courses, that's a different conversation, but this is for all the courses at the institution that are offered, how many students are enrolled divided by that number of courses, not what happens in each individual course. I just want to clarify because sometimes on campus people get that confused.
Thank you, Dr. Elliott. That's very important because we do have areas that are going to necessarily be less than that number. For example, our nursing classes, which are terribly important to all of us, are necessarily restricted to a smaller number. So we're aiming for that average. We do have a number of processes in place that we're continuing to follow, including examining the modalities and how well they do across the district and other things that we'll continue to monitor going forward. So again, thank you.
All right, and I've got the fourth and final section for this area, which is the percentage of students receiving financial aid, excluding student loans. So if you take a look, and we're actually just right where we were last year at 51%, which is significantly above our peer group, which is at 39%, and just above our goal of 50%. So one of the things that we've really started talking about is we know that as an institution, we have a wide array of scholarships and opportunities for students to earn scholarships and funding to help to fund their education. What we would like to do and what our focus has been over this last year is really taking a look at being able to offer scholarships to more students. So we know we have a specific pot of money. We're not looking to reduce that pot of money, but we're looking to increase the number of students who can receive that money. So Dean Tremaine, as well as a large task force, including Dr. Gilliland and many people from throughout the district, have met over the last, year and a half or so and really taken apart all of our scholarships and looked at the different groups that we're offering scholarships to and ensuring that we're working together with all the different departments to ensure that there's equity as we're distributing scholarships for the college as a whole. This does take into consideration Pell Grants and different state and federal aid as well, but our institutional scholarships have been a focus for us to, again, ensure that more students are receiving aid. We've looked at combining our high school programs. So in the past, you might recall, we've had early college and first step. One was in the summer, one was in the spring and fall semesters. They were very, very similar programs, but they did have different requirements, different application processes, different things about them, which from a student perspective and a parent perspective didn't make much sense. So it's one of those things over the last few years that we've been able to combine into one program for consistency so that more students can take advantage of that as well. We've done a lot of cross-functional work in departments, as I said, where the Campus Nexus system has really, I want to say allowed, but maybe forced, which has been a positive forced, us to really work together with student accounts, with finance, financial aid, registration. Everyone is really having to work together in a very positive way to be able to ensure that processes are working smoothly. And I think that has been a positive. Planned improvements that are coming is continued partnership with CAC foundations, with external agencies. We continuously have external agencies coming to us wanting to offer scholarships to students, which is a great problem to have. Not a problem at all, actually. We are looking at converting our paper scholarship application, which has always been a paper scholarship application. You still have to print it and sign on the dotted line and submit it, and moving that into an online forum so students can apply for scholarships online along with the rest of the world. We've had proactive communication strategies, really trying to work with students at specific target points throughout the year to let them know what's coming next with regard to financial aid, ensuring they're meeting satisfactory academic progress, that their application is completed for the next year, and really having targeted communications to help them through that process, as well as to help parents understand the process. And finally, Campus Nexus, the financial aid component, is a component that's been pretty well established over the years in comparison to some of the other newer Campus Nexus areas. So, financial aid has definitely seen some of the benefits of Campus Nexus or the benefits of processing with a lot more automated processing than we've had in the past. So, definitely still, a ways to go in our learning curve, but they certainly are seeing some great things moving forward. So, any questions related to that?
Any questions? Very interesting. Thank you all very much for the reports. Appreciate that. It helps us quite a bit. Before we move to adjournment, Mr. Miller has raised a point of order that I feel like we need to address, and it regards item number 10. Chris, please, the approval to publish the 2019-20 budget. I'm going to ask Mr. Miller to describe and present his point of order.
All right. Thank you, Chair. As the board secretary, sometimes I look at these in purely black and white. And with this item, the board approved the approval to publish the 2019-2020 budget. The budget has not been approved yet. So I think there's a technical error here where we need to add approval to publish the preliminary 2019-2020 budget. A reasonable person might look at this next month and see where we approved the budget. If there are any changes, because there could be some, we may not be exactly as presented today. They may say, well, why is the budget changed when you in May when you approved it last month in April? So what I ask the chair to consider is that we rescind the vote for item 10. We add the word preliminary preceding the 2019-2020 budget, and we vote again.
I'm trying to sift my brain through Robert's Rules of Order and what is and what's not allowed. First of all, let me ask of Dr. Elliott and Mr. Vaca if we have any concerns about the statement of the motion as presented and proposed by Mr. Miller.
My only concern is I'll be honest, I'm not tracking how it was different than the motion to approve the draft for publication.
What I'm saying, item 10 should read new is approval to publish the preliminary 2019-2020 budget.
So it would be a clarification of the previous motion that was approved.
Let's have Mary Lou share what the motion actually was, because we're going off memory here.
Thank you.
What I put down for the minutes was to approve the preliminary draft.
Right. There was a correction.
For publication.
There was a correction to the agenda from Mr. Waka, but that's not how it's written in the agenda, which I feel we need to adhere to.
Well, we can change the agenda. We
So,
can correct.
right. But does that mean that null and voids the vote, because we're talking publish the 2019-2020 budget, which we didn't really do because the budget has not been approved.
Right.
It's
Unlike some of Mr. Miller's ideas, this one makes so much sense that we really need to do it. Don't you agree?
Thank you, I think.
I think the audience can see we never rehearsed this here.
No.
I think if I can summarize, and then maybe we can figure out what we need to do, is I think what Mr. Miller is pointing to is on 10 on the agenda. It says approval to publish the 2019-20 budget. And the point of clarification is the approval to publish the preliminary draft of the 2019-20 budget. Yes. And while that's what the motion was that you voted on, I think the point of order is that we need to change the agenda. The wording in the agenda should have reflected the actual item and include the two words preliminary draft.
Correct, because the proposal itself intended to read the proposal.
Yeah. So the motion, I think, can stand as it was worded. The agenda, as we revise and publish, needs to say approval to publish the preliminary draft of the 2019-20 budget.
Okay.
Got it.
You okay
Thank
with
you.
that? All right, so the chair would propose that we solve this point of order by entertaining. Well, it's not on the agenda. Can't do that. Never mind.
It's an Mr. Chair, it's an administrative error that those words were
Yeah.
left out. I think in correcting the minutes, when we go to approve the minutes next month after they're finalized, that those words will be in the official minutes.
Agreed. Are there any challenges or problems with that from other members of the board?
No, because I think it's just a Scrivener error that can be changed.
Mrs. Christensen, you okay with that?
I'm good with that.
Dr. Banks, you okay with that? Thank you very much. I'll take that as okay. All right, so we have resolved I found a solution to the point of order raised by Mr. Miller, and I thank you for doing that. It's always good to make sure that we are communicating and stating correctly. So then, with that resolved, we will move to the next board meeting, which is May 21st, 2019, at the Signal Peak campus. And with that, the chair declares the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here.